How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a wonderful day today. It is time to get creative. It's time to get imaginative. It's time to get funky. Funky? It's time to get animating. And today I have a quick little inspiration. You can get funky if you want. Go ahead. Go ahead. You have my official Turbo's permission to get funky. Today's inspiration comes from, and I'm going to probably say this wrong, Sohei Niiikawa. He's the CEO behind Nippon Ichi Software, and this one's a little bit different. Usually I do more really animation or illustration focused inspirations, but this gives me an excuse to play the amazing Disgaea 5 trailer for you as well, so I'll have that playing over in the corner over there if you guys want to check that out while I'm talking here real quick. But I was reading an interview with him, and he said something really great. They were talking about their company and how they kind of stick with a similar formula because it just works with them. Again, granted, they definitely do some tweaks and everything to it, to each version of their newest product that they do, but they want to keep the heart and soul to it. And then he said, do something that only you can do. And they're the ones that do this right, and so they're gonna not lose heart on that. They're talking about how a lot of other games, they go from well, this one is this way versus the other version, and this one's this way, which being new and innovative is amazing and it's great. But when you found something that works, don't be afraid to just reiterate on that and find the best version of that, rather than always trying to add this new wonderful thing into there and this new wonderful thing over there, and in the end you lose what was the original amazing creation to begin with. Plus, it also gives me an excuse to show you some of one of my favorite illustrators' work. Again, Takehito Harada. He's the illustrator and concept artist behind the Disgaea series, and I just love his work. I just think he's does some amazing illustration work. So if you get a chance, definitely pick up any of his books if you can. But that being said, it's a little bit of a quicker inspiration for today, but I don't want to pigeonhole myself into not being able to share stuff, and this quote had kind of been circling around in my mind for the last couple of days, to find something that only you can do. And I challenge you guys to do that, to find what it is that you're inspired about, but also what unique thing that only you can bring to it, and to find that and to hone in on that and really use that as your motivator and your driving force while you're being creative, especially just in the next couple days. Just have that kind of mull around in your mind and play around with that. I know for myself, the more I've been thinking about it, I like doing this stuff with you, where I can talk to you guys about the creative process and share it with you every day, because I don't think there's as far as my searchings, and definitely let me know in the comments below if you know of anyone else who's doing like a daily creative show that's focused on creating content like this and sharing it with you, and doing kind of the over-the-shoulder thing every day, so you have someone in the trenches with you, because I'd love to know and collaborate with them and pick their mind on those too. But I think that's something kind of unique that we can do. And then as far as my own personal stuff, I definitely am spending a lot of time working on this illustration journal that hopefully I'll have out in another 6 months to a year. Oh, it seems a long way off. But anyways, I'm rambling. Let's get into today's work. This is the Rockwell rig. It's a free rig. You can grab it from Creative Crash, and I will link the information in the comments down below. Sorry, I was just moving the Hypershade window out of the bottom to make sure the recording was working. And if you're not familiar with this series, what we do is we give ourselves about 48 frames, which is 2 seconds of animation, and about anywhere from 45 minutes to about an hour, and see what kind of creative stuff we can come up with. And I try to bring a new rig for you guys to check out every day, and they're rigs that I've never used before, so that adds an extra level of challenge, because I'm not really sure what great stuff I'll find about it, and what sort of trip ups I personally might have with the rig, or different ways to approach the different styles of rigs that there are. So again, I'll link all this stuff in the information below. And thanks again for everyone for liking and subscribing to the channel. You guys are amazing. And that being said, let's get started. So the first thing I like to do when I'm doing one of these little videos is go ahead and build a base. And these videos definitely have a little bit of instruction and a little bit of just kind of over the shoulder. I really want to make these so that people who are just starting out can get some kind of free lessons and free starter videos here. And those of you who are already amazing animators, designers, sculptors, musicians, whatever it is, that creative field that you work in, you feel like you have someone every day who's working and striving with you to get those skills honed in and continue to work to just improve as content creators. And so I was thinking for this one, if it'll work, I wanted to do a little more personality than I feel like I've been able to get in the last few, just because we've been more about getting it to work rather than getting to play around with it. So that's why I kind of picked this rig, because it looked potentially like it would be an easier rig and built more for animation than for looks. Not to say it's an ugly rig. I tend to like these kind of more robotic feel rigs, like that boxy rig that I used almost a week ago now. Wow, time flies. But yeah, I really liked using that one. I think there are definitely a couple things that I might have approached a little bit differently with that rig, but it was really fun to do. And that's kind of the key, is if you find you're passionate about a certain project or a certain medium or anything, that even when there's struggles and everything, even though they might be frustrating, you're just going to work through them. You're not going to give up because you're passionate about it. And I challenge you guys to find what it is that you're passionate about as well. And so for this one, I was thinking kind of more of a sidewalk, kind of a little more of a skulk. Not necessarily like a sneak, but we could do a little more personality in here and do something where just get a little more attitude and everything throughout there. Let's see if we can get this a nice blended hip here. And get on here. So rotate Z here. You just want to get a good starting pose that's got some nice character to it as well. For this one, we'll do like we'll have one leg pass in front of the other from the side view, so that'll be a little bit change of pace from what we've been doing. What kind of hand should we do? Something like that. And don't, like I've mentioned before, don't be afraid to get weird with your animation, and to keep a mirror next to you or look into your webcam and make faces or do your poses or anything, just so you can use your own body as reference. Because as an animator or illustrator, any kind of visual artist where you're working with something that's similar to like a human character, yourself using your own body is a great way to get some good reference. And it's cheap too, it doesn't cost you anything. Use yourself. Don't have to pay for reference books, you don't have to pay a model to come do it for you. And get some good reference just by looking at yourself. See if we can get some better hand posing here. Just something more interesting. I'm going to try and get a good... Now these thumbs are kind of funky. I would probably, if I was modeling these, do them a little bit different. They're built a little bulky. It's okay, but I think stylistically I would have probably chosen a different way to approach those. But functionality-wise, they do the function of what a thumb is needed for. Yeah, maybe we could pull it up a little bit more. Okay. And let's go and grab all those. Rotate pull those guys down here. And then this one, I just want to try and get more of a natural hand pose with that thumb here. Maybe we'll go ahead and put this one in a little bit more. And then let's go ahead and see if we can't tilt that head up a little bit more and over a little bit more. That's a fairly intriguing pose. Got a nice silhouette and everything to it. So that being said, let's make sure we're only showing our NURB curves, NURB surfaces, and polygons. And let's go ahead and save our file here real quick because we haven't done that yet. And don't forget to save multiple versions and to save often. And let's just call this Rockwell Lock. And we'll save that. And then we'll grab everything here, go to frame 0, shorten our shot to 48 frames, and we'll go ahead and set a key there. Get it. Is it laggy or what's the deal here? We got everything. Okay, just a little bit of lag there for some reason. Alright, so let's get started. And we'll get started with what we like to get started with, and that's the foundation. So that's going to be the hips and the feet. And we'll keep it on 12s. I was thinking maybe we could even go slower, but I think 12s will work fine. If anything, I would slow it down, but I think we'll be okay here. So let's see. It's feeling alright. Let's get the other one here, set that, and move it forward here. Get those hips, and translate them forward in Z. Let's kind of make sure our spacing's still similar. Maybe we could pull it back just a little bit here. And let's grab the other foot, set that there. Yeah, I'm excited that this rig seems to, knock on wood here, be pretty well built, so that's what I figured. With these usually when it's more of a skeleton type of a rig rather than a really super, how do I want to say this? When the rig is built in a manner that's similar to this, it usually is built more for animation, where rigs that are more realistic, let's say, usually are built more because they're a pretty model and they don't always animate as well. I've noticed from my personal experience. That being said, I'm not a rigger, so I don't want to claim that or say things that I really appreciate the talent that is rigging and modeling, because those are two things that I am fairly super novice at myself. Although I do have fun modeling, that's for sure. Rigging, I've only just recently started to understand and read stuff about, so I'm not even going to say that that's a world that I know hardly anything about. So definitely, if you are a modeler or a rigger out there, definitely write down in the comments below. Let me know what are some good books that you've enjoyed, or some good tutorials or videos, or just what got you into rigging and modeling, because it's definitely we're just going to open our window animation editor's graph editor here. We're going to clean up a couple of our curves here. Let's look at our translate Z. That's going to be the in this case, what's that, right to left movement, and we're just going to clean that up so it's a straight line, so there's no hiccups in our hip movement. Hips almost feel a little forward, so maybe we'll pull them back just a little bit there. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, let's do a little bit of translate X. Let's plant it over that foot. And translate X, so it's planted over that one. This way, just so the weight is distributed a little bit better here. Let's see here. It's probably a little too much, so we'll scale that back. I think the idea is there, but we really don't need too much because of how kind of more low to the ground is. The weight's a little bit more solid there because of those bent legs, but we still want to get a little bit of that shifting in there. But by putting his center of gravity a little bit lower to the ground than if he was standing straight up, we don't have to do as much with that. And then let's go ahead and rotate and Y a little bit to favor that planted foot. And here to flavor that one. Flavor? I mean favor. What flavor would work? We're going to flavor our animation that way. Okay, it feels like it's a little too much. Again, we will offset it with the chest, but I think it's still too much to start with here. It's just something that we really just want to add a little bit of feel to, not necessarily something that we want the whole hips really swinging that much into. So let's go ahead and watch that now. Okay, let's do a little bit of up and down here. So translate it up on that passing position, and down on the contact, and up on that one, and down there, and up there, and down there. I like how this rig's built. I think it has some nice style to it though. Really do. Okay, let's go ahead and clean up that up and down a little more so it's a little more even. Definitely have a couple that are shallower and deeper dips down, so we want to even that up a little more. If I haven't mentioned it in a while, definitely check out Andrew Loomis's Figure Drawing for All It's Worth. One of my favorite books. I've been going through that again lately, and I'm really enjoying that. Also, I did pick up the book Rig It Right, so I'll have to let you know a little more on that book once I end up finishing it. Should probably be in a little while, just because I want to actually... I don't know how you guys ingest books or anything, but I tend to do them rather slowly. If it's something... I mean, I can flip through a book quickly if it's just a casual read, but if it's something... and this is really where I tend to find most of the things that I like to read are, if it's something of substance that I want to learn, I take a long time and I try to read through them and take notes and, try and do it along with the book if it's any sort of guide. And that's really what, personally, that's not true. What I was going to say is I'm personally drawn more to, like, tutorial and history factual stuff, but I do like some fantasy books as well. Sometimes. Depends. Let's go ahead and twist it back that way. That way. That way. And that way. So let's see here. I don't know if that's working or not. I'd almost say do it the other way around. Let's check it. Might have to use a couple of axes, like blend the Y and Z axis to get what we're looking for, though. Let's do some X. Yeah, I think I actually might want to do X here. There we go. Which is strange, because usually X is like up and down rather than side to side, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and get rid of the Y, or actually we could just shift the Y over to 6 and 8s, or 6 and 18, so it'll be those mids. That might work. Let's go, what was that now? Okay, I feel like there's some little bit too much movement there. It's kind of whipping around in a couple of those parts, so I'm going to scale that back, and I think that's the rotate, in this case X, for this rig. Let's go ahead and do a little bit here of, would that be rotate X. Favor that back planted foot, but I think we might have to offset the chest and the rotate X, because I think right now we're just so let's take what we have on the rotate X on the chest and let's do the opposite or the inverse of what we have. So let's flip that here. I really did like that quote from today, though. Find something that only you can do. I think that's the key to being creative, is to find what it is that, okay, that might be a little too much, so it's definitely, oh, you know what, it's because we wanted to do the Y's, not the X's here. Since it's at a little bit of angle, and since they flip back between the X and the Y, it's a little tricky here, so I definitely want to figure out where we can go right with this. It's going to be the hips that we just maybe need to tone down a little bit more. And definitely clean up the rotate X, because we kind of went off kilter there. So let's see here. a little more. Needs a little bit of rotate C in here, just get a little bit. It's starting to feel a little better. Just finding a good mix between what we've got here, between the Z and the Y axis there. Just need to tone it down a little bit more throughout, because I feel like it's working okay, but it's just a little too much. Just a little too like over exaggerated. And maybe we could take the hips here. Might be a little too much. Let's go ahead and scale that back as well, because this is different from the root controller, which kind of does the big bulk of the spine. This is just the hip. So this is going to mainly just do the hips rather than the whole bottom of the spine here. And let's go ahead and do a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. I'm approaching this one with just a little bit of try it till we get it right attitude, which is a little different than I usually do. I'll trial and error. But it's all fun, it's all playful. Keep playing around until we get it to look the way we want. Nice little pelvic bowl movement here. Let's go ahead and tone down the root and chest a little bit more on everything. As well. See. A light tilt on the neck, which I'd like to be able to change a bit, but it doesn't seem like they have any controllers for the neck. It's just the head. So we'll have to figure out what we're going to do there. Some keep alive in that head. A little bit of tilt and movement that would complement what the body's doing. Feels like it pulls back and then hits a wall at about here. So let's go ahead and exaggerate those a little bit more. Maybe not that much. Let's go watch that. It's a real loose head. Probably want to tone that down, but I think that's the feeling is okay, but it's just a little too over the top right now. So we're going to tone everything down there a little bit. Let's go ahead and save our file here, Control S, and let's do a little bit more with the feet. Let's rotate them back. I'll play them down, but I think one thing I want to do with rotating them back is I want to do a little bit of rotate Z in as well. And we'll zero that out, just so there's a nice little angle to that foot as well. So I'll do a little bit of rotate Z there, a little bit of rotate X, so it just gives us a little bit of angle to work with. to the other foot. Make sure to plant our key there. Rotate there. Rotate there. And 1 second. Sorry about that. Thought I had to sneeze, but I guess I didn't. False sneeze alarm. False alarm sneeze. Is there a name for that? Who knows? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Okay, sorry about that. Do a little bit of keep alive in these arms. A little bit of sway there. Let's see. That might be a little too much. I think I'm gonna do a little bit of. Let's get that forearm working here. I might do one of my cardinal rules that I don't usually do, and that's do 2 rotates or use a second axis on the forearm elbow area, because the elbow really does only this way, but I think we could get, I mean, there is a slight give here, so we're really going to just play with one axis that we bend with, but we'll do our initial pose that has a little bit of the other one, just to get that a nicer pose feel there. Okay, I think we want to go the other way though, because that's giving us a weird like wave motion. So let's try this instead. We need to do a little more. It goes a little too low there. Let's keep that more like this. Let's see here. Maybe it's here. It just feels like it snaps a little bit harder at that one frame. Must be from something in the could probably even accentuate that a little bit more. There must be something in the chest region. It's not balanced out here. Everything feels pretty good in the chest. Maybe it's the head. Let's check this guy. I thought we left with pretty clean curves, but maybe we didn't. And normally I like to have a little variety in here, but get the hiccups, sorry. We got something hitting too hard. Definitely want to make sure we can clean that up if we can. It's in the translates even. I don't think so. Probably even have a little more up and down. Let's see. Let's get into doing some hand movement here. Maybe So let's see. It's a little over the top, so let's scale it back. And then we could probably delay it a frame or two as well. Should probably even have it go on 12s. Let's see here. Might even be just too much movement overall, so let's go ahead and scale it back a little more. Let's see here. A little more. Okay, we'll save that for where it is right now. Let's do the other arm here. Let's go and grab this guy. Okay, let's go ahead and scale all that back a lot. Let's see here. And let's have this one go. Out. Just so we have them hit at different times if we can, so they don't feel like they're going at the same time. Maybe a little less on the wrist there. I think we need to do some shoulder movements though, because I feel like the arms aren't getting enough force behind them. I feel like they're just kind of going on their own. So let's see if we can't do a little more with these shoulders here. Now it feels like there's a little bit of force behind them. See, like the movement's coming from somewhere. And sometimes we can get that just by the torso moves, but I feel like that wasn't enough for this one. We need to get some shoulders in there so we could feel like that movement started somewhere. Let's do a little bit here as well. Tone down that shoulder a little bit more and tone down the arm as a whole as well. So it feels like this one is just a little too much. Let's go ahead and take the shoulders and let's go ahead and move those up frame as well. I do kind of feel like we should open the hips a little bit more. And let me rotate Z to camera. Just a little bit. Delayed one frame here. To delay this a frame as well. Yeah, let's go and delay that a frame. Push the hips a little bit more this way as well, just to help maintain the balance. That'd be translate X, and we just push that a little bit more that way. There, I feel a little more imbalanced now. Save what we have here, and let's go back to the feet. And let's go ahead and do the toe roll. Nope. Toe tap. Drag that toe back. And lift that toe up and flop it down. And drag that toe back. Lift it up and flop it down. here. For some reason there's a funky key here. And we just pushed it all forward frame. Let's try watching that. We took everything on this one, and I just want to do some more offsetting so that they're not all hitting at the same time. Just drag it back a frame. Let's go ahead and watch it. Still feel like there's still just too much movement overall on this arm. Let's just scale everything back just a little bit more. Just so that there's some variation between the arms, trying to figure out any way that we can keep kind of what we have, but add a little more texture to like the front one being. Let's go ahead and grab that hand and we'll scale it back here as well. And one thing we gotta be aware of here is maybe pull this arm out a little bit more so that it's not gonna look like it's almost hitting. Just to keep that silhouette a little better. I do feel like we may have neutered that hand a little bit too much though. I want to get a nice feel of that there's some reaction to it. Let's go and save what we have here. We're going to definitely need to either do a little less toe tap or a little higher raise on the foot here. Just so we're not intersecting with the ground there. You can see that there's a little bit. Let's go ahead and do this guy. Toe tap, drag there, lift up, and hit down. A little bit of toe tap, drag there, lift up. There we go. There, now those arms don't feel like they're really doing this too similar of movements. I mean, there's still going to be definitely like a circular pattern to their movement. I feel like that's a little better. Now the next thing we need to do is save our file and then get into the fingers. Those are going to be on, what's it, 15? Ooh, we do not want to select our base there. Do a little bit of drag there. I think we're actually going to go this way now. And then it should be 12, so it should be 27 and 39. And pull that right to 40. There we go. That works a little better. And then will that be 3? Do a little bit this way. Sorry, a little bit that way, just so there's a little start off to it. thumb, and then we'll offset everything here too. Two sixes on the thumb. 1, 2, forward. 30, we'll drag it back. 42, bring it forward. Okay. Maybe we could scale that back a little bit more. And that thumb, we don't need to be moving so much. And let's go ahead and grab the tip and the mid. We'll delay those a frame. And the tip, and we'll delay that another frame, just so there's a little bit of successive movement throughout that thumb. And then let's grab all of the tips and all of the mids. This finger, we'll delay all those a frame. And then just all of the tips. There we go. And I'll delay all those a frame. So there's a little successive movement through there as well. And then let's go ahead and lead with the index finger. So we'll grab all of 3 of those and we'll push them forward a frame. Oh, actually, you know what? I don't think we did that right. And the other one's still selected, so let's go just grab those. That's all needed. And we'll follow with what would be like the pinky finger for this rig. I'll delay that frame. Okay, let's go and watch that. That should mix up the movement a little more. There we go. That feels a little better. And let's go ahead and save that. Let's get into the other hand. And for this one, we're going to do kind of an up and down movement instead of a side to side throughout these fingers. Maybe we'll have a little side to side. We'll see. And then what did we have that on? So we're going to do that on 7. Okay. So we're going to pull those all in. Drag them out. And pull them in. Drag them out. Let's see here. Okay, maybe a little less overall, so we'll just scale that back a little more. I think that movement will work. And then let's go ahead and get into the thumb here. I'll do that on, is that 11s? Do a little more, and bring it back. Let's see. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and grab the tip and the mid there, and delete those, and the tip, and we'll delete that, so there's a little bit of successive movement throughout that thumb. And then let's go ahead and grab all of the tips of the fingers and the mids here. Excuse me, I think my voice is starting to go out for some reason. Been talking too much today. That's why. I'll delay out the tips. And then we'll take the index finger and we'll move it forward a frame so it leads the movement. I usually do that with my animation. It's not, you can change it up if you feel like it, but I usually like to lead with the index finger and follow the pinky. And that's a little tip too when you're doing an open hand, like from a fist to an open hand, lead with the index, and when you're closing it back up, close it back up with the pinky. So you lead and then you close up. So when you're doing animation, definitely that's natural. You can always do it the opposite way, but that's definitely going to have a feel to it. Because to unclench that way, I have to actually even think about it, and to close my fist up this way, I have to think about it. It's definitely that's feeling pretty good. Alright, I think I like that. Okay. This puppet feels very almost like Day of the Dead-ish kind of marionette puppet. I like him a little Rockwell. It's a cool rig. So let's take a look back at where we started with today. Oh, before we do that though, one thing I've been noticing, I need to turn my nerd curves off. And let's grab both of these little guys, create a new layer, and we'll hide them as well. And we'll save our file. Go ahead and play that, and then let's take a look back. Today was really keeping up with the mantra of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid? Yeah. Anyways, so do something that only you can do. So figure out what it is that you are special at, that's unique to you, that's amazing from you, and do it. Just find it and do it. You're amazing. You can do it. I believe in you. Keep doing stuff every day. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you end up using this rig, definitely share back what you created. And let me know in the comments down below what you would have done different, what you liked about this one. And that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon and a wonderful evening. And we'll see you tomorrow for some more animation.